Story time! Okay, so I have gone to multiple schools throughout my life, which means I have ran into all different types of teachers. So when I was 15, I had this English teacher, and she was new to the school, but I think she was also a brand new teacher. Like, she had just graduated school to become a teacher. And I remember when I first met her, me and her got along really good, but then she kind of started acting like a puta. So we'll just call her Mrs. P for that reason. So because she was a new teacher, people would literally come in and grade her. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but whenever there's a new teacher, people from the school board or whatever would come in and they would examine the teachers and make sure they're doing their job right. And I remember one day she was like, hey, there's some people coming in tomorrow, so if you guys can behave so I can get a good grade, I would really appreciate it. So fast forward to the next day, I'm in her class and I thought everything went well. It was a little old white lady that was examining our teacher, and she seemed really mean, but she never said anything the whole time. She was really quiet. So after the teacher finished her lesson, she was like, okay, do your thing, get into your little groups and finish the assignments. So that's exactly what we did. I got into my little mini group of 2 other girls and we talked and worked on our assignments for the rest of the class. And like I said, I thought everything went well. I saw no problem with what happened during that class period. So then the next day I had missed that class. I don't remember exactly why. I might have been ditching, pero quién sabe, I'm not sure. So I remember I was walking in the hallway and then my friend comes up to me and she was like, oh, Stephanie, I need to tell you something. Yeah, I was like, what's good? Tell me what happened. And she said, okay, well, Miss P got a bad grade. And she said that the little old white lady said that she needs to learn how to control the 3 Mexicans in the back. Those 3 Mexicans being me and my 2 other friends. Okay, so my friend had told me that the little old lady told my teacher that she needs to learn how to control the 3 Mexicans in the back and that she got a low score because of the 3 of us. She never blamed anyone else except for the 3 of us. And my teacher was literally announcing this to the entire class. So I wasn't there and the 2 other girls in my group weren't there either, so none of us could stick up for ourselves. And then the teacher proceeded to blame me for everything. My friend told me that she was like, this is Stephanie, it's Stephanie's fault, blah, 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 blah. And then my friend told me that she was mad because our teacher let the little old lady call us the 3 Mexicans. She just felt like it was wrong and she was like, you guys have names, you're not the 3 Mexicans in the back, that's just racist. So then the next day I ended up going to class and my teacher ended up blaming me for everything in front of the entire class. Even though we literally did nothing wrong, I did defend myself and I told her, I was like, I didn't even do anything, why you're tripping? But she was just straight that it was my fault and she blamed the other 2 girls too. Pero no tanto, she had more of a thing against me, and then that was the end of it. After that, I lost full respect for her. She was already pushing it, but at that moment I was like, no, ya te pasaste, this is too much. I don't know if she's still teaching, but I really hope she isn't. She was literally one of the worst teachers I have ever had, and her allowing that basically says everything about her. So shortly after noon, Frank's roommate decided to go to their apartment to see what was going on with Frank. When he got to their apartment, he found Frank shot to death. So all of this took place between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. And it was a little difficult for investigators to find any clues because the area that Frank lived in was full of college students, and all of those college students were either off for the summer or out of town. Now, those who were home at the time were questioned and they said that they didn't hear any gunshots at all, so police literally had no leads. Police then questioned Franklin's girlfriend and his roommate, and they even questioned some of his family in a different city. But still nothing. So that's when police turned over to his girlfriend and his roommate. His roommate was supposedly in Cleveland with a family member that night, and the next morning he went straight to work without stopping by the apartment. And his girlfriend, who lived with her parents at the time, was supposed to go visit him that night, but instead she ended up going to work for some reason. I also want to point out that police did not suspect her to be involved in any way. So after investigating friends and family, police decided to start investigating Franklin's life. Police discovered that he had a clean record and he wasn't involved in anything, so there was literally no reason for someone to murder him. Now, one thing I noticed is that his roommate said he got worried because he hadn't talked to Franklin in a while. That while was only 10 hours, and part of those 10 hours was the night when everyone is sleeping. So it's just kind of weird that he got worried for him in such a short amount of time. Police believe that Franklin and his murderer knew each other, mainly because there was no forced entry. Police never revealed where he was shot and how many times, but I feel like if they did, we would find out if it was something personal. Investigators never found his killer, so the question still remains, who killed Franklin Benedict and why? Hola chismosas hermosas, it is story time! So I've been with my boyfriend for a year now, and we had only had one big argument back in November. We were out drinking together for the first time when my mom decided to call me and tell me that she needed to talk to us together. At first I thought she wanted to give us the talk, but after a while she called me again and she told me that I needed to come back home and asked if I was drinking. My boyfriend went on about how my mom probably just knew what we were doing and that's why she was calling me. So by this time my boyfriend was already pretty drunk and we arrived to my house and my mom was sitting outside waiting for us. We walk up to her and she pulls out her phone and she showed my boyfriend some screenshots. I was obviously very confused until she showed me the screenshots next. The screenshots was him texting his ex, and the screenshots were from months ago, but it still hurt. After that, my mom sent him back to the car crying, and all of our friends texted me asking why he called someone and started yelling at them. He had apparently called his ex, blocked her, and told her that she ruined something great. I ended up forgiving him a while later, and we are still together, but I found out how my mom had gotten those screenshots. Well, it turns out that my sister's friend is my boyfriend's ex. A little while after this incident, my sister asked me to go to the mall with her, so I went, but little did I know she was bringing the ex with her. She obviously did this on purpose, and to this day she brings her to family events trying to make a fool out of me. But as much as she tries, it still doesn't work because me and my boyfriend have been as happy as we could be, and my sister is hurting her friend rather than my relationship. Story time! Okay, so my parents haven't been together since I was 2. So growing up, I had many step-parents, but when I was 5, my mom finally found someone who cared for her and loved her. We'll call this person Justin. Anyways, when Justin found out about me, he was very supportive and treated me like I was his own daughter. And when I turned 6, my brother was born, and Justin still treated me like I was his own daughter, but I noticed that he got kind of distant. But I didn't think much of it since my mom told me that it was normal because my brother was a baby and needed the attention. As we grew up, I started going to my biological dad's house on the weekends. But when I would go over to his house, I would have to wait for my dad at my babysitter's house so he could pick me up there. And my brother would get picked up by his dad, Justin. And whenever Justin would come to pick up my brother, he would come dressed up, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Something then happened between my mom and Justin, and I had to stay away from them for an entire year. When I finally came back to the house, everything was normal until a month later when my mom went through his phone and he freaked out and he took it away from her, but I still didn't care because I thought it was a normal couple thing at 9. After that, Justin started going out at night and came back smelling like a woman. Again, I didn't care because I thought it was normal. My mom loved him so much, so she didn't think that he was cheating because he would even take my little brother, so she thought it was just bonding time. That was until she went through his phone again and found pictures of him and some other woman doing the you-know-what. And she also saw some pictures of them eating at a fancy restaurant while my brother was there. My mom asked my brother who the woman was in the picture, and he said he didn't know her name, but that she would kiss Justin and that Justin told him that it was just a friend. My mom then got pissed off because he lied to my brother and used him to get what he wanted. Of course, my mom and Justin broke up, and my brother was young, so he didn't know what was going on at the time. Till this day, that woman is still with Justin, and my mom is with her new boyfriend, but I've heard that Justin has been cheating on the lady, which I'm not surprised about. Hi, crime babies! So today we'll be talking about Franklin Benedict. Now, this case happened in Ohio. Now, one thing I want to point out is that this case is actually about to hit its 6-year anniversary today. And basically tomorrow, because the timeline is from literally right now at 10:33 to tomorrow in the afternoon. So I just kind of think it's fate that I'm literally making this story the day it happened. So let's get into it. So Franklin was a 26-year-old man, and he was said to be a simple man with no extravagant life. He was into movies and craft beers, and he worked at Walmart in Kent, Ohio. He didn't know a lot of people, and he spent most of his time working or spending time with his roommate or with his new girlfriend. Frank was also a Kent State University student pursuing a degree in communications, but wasn't taking classes around this time. Around this time, Franklin was also saving money to put down a payment on a new apartment, but sadly, his life was cut short. On July 7th, 6 years ago today, Franklin went to work, and he wasn't scheduled to work that day, but he decided to go work overtime. He clocked at around 11:21 and started the 9-mile trip back to Kent. He got home by 11:40, and his cell phone activity showed that he was talking to both his roommate and his girlfriend through the phone. Supposedly, both his girlfriend and his roommate weren't with him at the time, so he was the only one in his apartment this night. His phone records showed that the last contact that he had with anyone was at 12:42 a.m. on July 8th, and that person that he was texting was his girlfriend. After that, his girlfriend noticed that he didn't text back, but she figured that his phone had died because it had trouble keeping a battery charge. I myself am wondering what him and his girlfriend were talking about because police didn't really release much information to the public, which is kind of weird but at the same understandable. So it was the next day, and Franklin's roommate got concerned since he hadn't heard from him since last night. So shortly after noon, he decided to go to their apartment so he could see what was going on and if Franklin was okay. Story time! Okay, so this one actually happened to my mom, and this happened a few months ago, so it was pretty recent. Okay, so there was some stuff going on in the neighborhood, and my mom wanted to buy a little pew-pew in order to protect ourselves because people are crazy, like you never know. And it was just something to keep in the house just in case anything ever happens. So she was checking out a few stores for them, and one of them was a pawn shop. So I went with her that day, and we pull up to the pawn shop, and she gets out the truck, and she's like, okay, well, stay here. I'm just gonna go check and see if they have anything. So she's in there for about 20 minutes, right? After that, she finally comes out, and she doesn't really say anything about what they said or what happened in the store. And we just ended up driving off, and we went to another store. About a week later, I asked her if the pawn shop ever called her back because you need background checks if you want to buy this type of stuff. And she told me no, and that she didn't even get a call because she was actually denied in the store. The reason being because she called one of my family members because they know more about this stuff than she does, and she was speaking Spanish to them in the store. After she hangs up, she goes up to the counter where these two workers are, and she told the guy what kind of specific pew pew she wanted. The guy then told her, yeah, well, I'm not gonna sell it to you because my employee right here understands Spanish, and she said that you were talking to the person on the phone and telling them that you were going to buy the pew pew and sell it on the black market or to them, which is illegal, and I can get you arrested for that. My mom told me that when he said that, she just looked at him like, ¿Qué chingos tienes? Like, I didn't even say that. But she just ended up walking out. She was like, I do not have time to be dealing with you today. Like, today is not the day. And after that, my mom ended up going to another pawn shop without me. And she told the owner of that pawn shop what happened at the other pawn shop. And apparently that pawn shop has a habit of doing that. I'm pretty sure that man who told my mom that was the owner of the store. Which makes it even worse. Like, that's so unprofessional. I don't know if his employee was on something, but he definitely needs to hire people that actually understand Spanish.